It's always very interesting to me when a company decides or doesn't decide to actually make a classic franchise or make a new entry into it after a number of years. And sometimes when the perfect opportunity seemingly comes about, they kind of stay frozen at times, whether due to concerns over if it'll actually be profitable, if people are going to play the game, or simply they're just investing into other things. And in today's video, we're going to get into one of those things that actually happened with the Nintendo Switch. If you've been watching some of my videos, I've talked about these two franchises that we're going to discuss multiple times being one of the best in their eras and still one of the best games up until today's day, and that is of course Viewtiful Joe franchise and Okami. Now Hideki Kamiya, the creator of both of these, has talked about how he still wants to do this and how it's something that he is urging or he would love for Capcom to actually do because they're the ones who have the IP rights. But before we get into all of that, what's good everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. I also want to quickly mention that we do have a PlayStation 5 Metaphor ReFantazio special edition giveaway that we will be holding on the channel, so make sure you subscribe if you're not already subbed because we will be giving details about how to win that in the future. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. There's been a number of articles about what Hideki Kamiya had to say recently about Okami 2 and Viewtiful Joe 3. So you guys all know, but if you don't know, Hideki Kamiya is an industry legend who's created franchises such as Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, Okami, Viewtiful Joe, The Wonderful 101, and a little bit more. And he left his job at Platinum Games after last year, and he's still interested in making Okami and the Viewtiful Joe series because these stories are incomplete to him. Now he has this series that he does with Ikumi Nakamura. Now Kamiya has even went as far as to filling out Capcom's recent survey and putting an actual direct request for a new Viewtiful Joe game after he noticed that Viewtiful Joe was not an option, which is just crazy considering how good Viewtiful Joe 1 and 2 are. That is a highly rated game. Now here's what he had to say, quote, "I'd be more than happy. It's only because 8 people have played Viewtiful Joe that people aren't going wild. The game has ended midway, so I need to finish it. I want to finish it. That survey that Capcom did last time, it didn't have Viewtiful Joe as an option. So I sent a response saying, I am Hideki Kamiya. Let me make Viewtiful Joe's sequel. I wrote that and sent it. It didn't even get put up on the survey results. The director himself is asking to make the game again, but they won't even talk about it. What the hell, Capcom?" That's funny. That's so Hideki Kamiya. Now, Kamiya also made some comments about the popularity of Okami on Capcom's survey and reiterated how he would love to complete the story because he does feel bad leaving the story halfway done. So he says this, quote, "You know that the story ended midway, so leaving it as it is, I feel bad. Creators, I think, have the duty to create sequels fans are wanting to see. Although I sound all high and mighty, it's been a while since I've moved on from Okami, but I still feel like I haven't fulfilled my duty. So Capcom, please, let's do it together." So Hideki Kamiya really doesn't have anything in terms of what's known publicly about his next steps, his next game, what he's going to do. It seems like his move on from Platinum Games absolutely was something that he didn't want to do, the company didn't want to do, but there were things that just happened in order for it to happen. So it ended up being, okay, well, I'm going to do this. So he's talked about it, so you guys can check out those vids. But I do feel that if you're talking about a game like the Viewtiful Joe franchise, or if you're talking about series like Okami, both of these are super highly rated franchises. Now we've got Okami HD, which has come out on pretty much every single modern platform, so I can give Capcom some credit for that one, but I do feel that Okami Den, which was the smaller game in the series as well, that has not been ported over to anything else from what I understand, so they're leaving that off. And of course Viewtiful Joe 1, Viewtiful Joe 2, and there's a number of side spin-off Viewtiful Joe games as well. Those have not been ported to anything else either. It's been stuck on the 6th gen. They didn't even put it on the Wii. They didn't even put it on the Wii U. They didn't even put digital downloads. It's just been nothing for Viewtiful Joe. So I think that is an issue. Now, here's how I think they should go about it with Hideki Kamiya. I feel that a sequel for Viewtiful Joe, so a Viewtiful Joe 3 game, that should be top priority. I think that actually has the best type of, I would say, selling power over Okami, in my opinion. Viewtiful Joe is known a little bit more, and he's got a bit more games out there. Now, Okami can be, I guess, in its own regards, known as well, but I think Viewtiful Joe did a little bit better, and I think the gameplay kind of translates a little bit more over to the modern sense because it's more simplistic in its style, but then has a lot of depth. Okami, you have a paintbrush, there's a lot of different things. That might not be something that's as popular in today's day. Now, of course, I could be completely wrong, right, when it comes down to a modern audience, but I'm just not sure. But I think that both of these games missed a prime opportunity. Capcom absolutely made a major mistake not utilizing the Nintendo Switch for both of these IPs. We absolutely should have gotten Okami Den in addition to a new Okami game on the Nintendo Switch. We absolutely should have got, at the bare minimum, Viewtiful Joe 1 and 2 HD Remaster Collection in one package on the Nintendo Switch. I honestly feel if they did that, it would have reviewed really highly, and there could have been some hope for Viewtiful Joe 3. This was a blown/missed opportunity, and I'm not saying that as just a super mega fan of the Viewtiful Joe and Okami franchises. I'm saying it because Viewtiful Joe himself, his outfit, his character, everything fits so well with games that have done good on the Nintendo Switch. And I feel that with the install base, because both of these games, I mean, yes, Okami launched on the PlayStation 2, and that has a massive install base. Then it launched on the Wii, that also has a massive install base. And yes, it didn't sell necessarily awesome or anything, but from what I understand, Viewtiful Joe was absolutely successful enough on the GameCube to get a sequel and to get franchise consideration. So that's why I said that Viewtiful Joe has a bit more, I would say, selling power in today's day than maybe Okami, but both of them missed a huge opportunity to be on the Nintendo Switch and potentially resurrect and breathe new life into both of these franchises. So I think going forward, it's never too late. You can make the games on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 if you want. You can have HD remasters. You can try to take Okami Den and put that on a modern platform. So I still think that there's time. I would love for Hideki Kamiya to be able to supervise maybe these Okami and Viewtiful Joe remasters, bring them back out, and then potentially evaluate what they can do for a new one. Now, I know Hideki Kamiya is probably not too keen on, revisiting, but I feel that it would be very important to actually get everything out for the franchise, right? You can't just release the third game and not have it, especially after it's been gone for a long time. You can't just release it and say, okay, here you go. You got to actually be able to have the games playable. So having a Viewtiful Joe 1 and 2 remastered and then leading into Viewtiful Joe 3, I think that's the best course of action. It's a 2D side-scrolling beat 'em up platformer type of thing, so I feel that it necessarily wouldn't be too crazy to make. And these type of games, like with the art style that Viewtiful Joe has and everything, they're all over the place and they've been successful. So I honestly feel that now is a great time to resurrect Viewtiful Joe, resurrect Okami. People would go crazy for these type of games, and I'm hoping that Hideki Kamiya actually gets the chance to do this. Now, there is one more thing that I want to talk about here with Capcom and Hideki Kamiya and the resurrection of certain franchises. This is something with the Nintendo Switch that we've seen other companies struggle with beforehand. This type of thing with, okay, should we bring the games over? Should we actually do something with this? Like, should we work with Hideki Kamiya? It's not like it's something that we haven't seen before overall. But I would say to Capcom, and I would say to everybody that's maybe doubting this type of thing, I'm telling you, man, these classics being brought back, there's been a ton of companies that have taken a chance on the Nintendo Switch or taken a chance Switch, PlayStation, Xbox with bringing back old school or classic style of games, and they've had a ton of success. And I honestly feel that if they did that here, it would be a win-win. But they did blow this opportunity to do it. The Nintendo Switch is in its twilight years. The Nintendo Switch 2 is coming out probably sometime in the first half of next year, or at least at the bare minimum next year. but I still feel that the Nintendo Switch will be around. So you can absolutely do Viewtiful Joe remastered 1 and 2, Nintendo Switch 2, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, PC, whatever the case is, Xbox, although Xbox fans never got Viewtiful Joe 1 or 2 at all. The game was on the PlayStation 2, so I'm not sure if Xbox fans would buy it. But maybe Microsoft would be like, all right, here's a Game Pass bag for this game because whatever, right? So I think that this would be the great time to do it. But with Hideki Kamiya, we don't necessarily fully know his plans and his team and what he's got. So I'm not sure. Maybe he's thinking he can be like Masahiro Sakurai and freelance this, right? To where he kind of forms his own, company, small company that works with another external company in order to produce and manage and direct this game with Capcom. And I don't even think that he'd need some type of crazy budget or anything like that. Now, Okami might be a little bit different with that, but I mean, if they just took that same tech that they used back then on the PlayStation 2 and the Wii and the HD versions and just made a new game and didn't try to really overemphasize the graphics or anything like that, I think they could make something within budget that fans would like for Okami to truly finish out the series. Both of these obviously aren't going to be some type of evergreen series like Mario or Zelda that we see forever or anything like that, in which I think Hideki Kamiya and everybody knows that, but I still feel that not having them on, at least with Viewtiful Joe, not having it on more modern platforms with Viewtiful Joe 1 and 2 and some of the other side games as well, and of course not having something like Okami Den on modern platforms as well to get the full Okami experience, I think that's a little bit of a disservice to the fans out there. But it's not just Capcom. I mean, every single company does this. Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony. There's all sorts of games that are not updated, that are not put on modern systems for people to be able to play dead franchises that people loved, that at one point seemed like they were going to be big franchises for companies that ended up just not doing well. I mean, we can see stuff like Dino Crisis, right? What's going on with that? We still don't have anything. So that's another Capcom franchise. And Nintendo has a bunch of older games as well that are just stuck on older platforms. The Nintendo 3DS has a bunch of games that are just stuck on there. So it happens. But I do feel, once again, that Hideki Kamiya absolutely is speaking the truth here, man. This is something that these stories are not done, and fans would love to see exactly how they actually finish out and what's happening. So I am going to put a formal request into Capcom. If they see this video, Capcom executives, Capcom marketing, whatever the case is, now is the time. At this point, you have still an active, massive fan base with the Nintendo Switch. You have the Nintendo Switch 2 coming up. You have two platforms that have an identity on Nintendo platforms with Okami Den and with Okami HD. All of these are on Nintendo platforms in the past or on the present currently. Viewtiful Joe. Once again, you've got Viewtiful Joe that birthed on the GameCube, right? So to me, it would make complete sense to utilize this. This is something that I talked about before with Atlas. We discussed this years ago when they didn't have Persona 3, 4, and 5 on the Nintendo Switch, and I'm saying it's going to happen because they would be crazy for it not to happen. Now, obviously, Persona 5's popularity blew up, so it makes complete sense to do it, but I feel that this is not going to get up to that level, but you can still leverage a platform to further increase what's potential for the series, and the Nintendo Switch has been a catalyst for so many games out there. Look at the Ys and Legend of Heroes series that are absolutely getting a popularity boost because of the Nintendo Switch as well. So let's hope, let's see what happens here. Hideki Kamiya is spot on with his analysis, but I want to see what Hideki Kamiya actually has for a team and what his plans are. I think he's kind of just saying stuff at this point. We still need to see what his actual plans are. I think there's some stuff in his contract that doesn't allow him to announce anything at this point, at least his ending contract. So maybe we'll get some details on exactly what's happening with Hideki Kamiya sometime this year or early next year. But I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping that Capcom understands that people want Viewtiful Joe. People want Okami. They want them on modern platforms, and that it would be a service to everyone if they were able to get those games done and finish out those franchises, not just with remasters and re-releases, but actual new games as as well. Viewtiful Joe 3 in today's day, man, that would have went dummy crazy on the Nintendo Switch. That would have been wild. Same thing with Okami too, man. That would have been super cool. So I get why they didn't at this point, but there's no excuse for not having at least Viewtiful Joe 1 and 2 on the Nintendo Switch or on modern platforms. Come on now. So let's get things together here, Capcom. So what are your thoughts on this when it comes to what Hideki Kamiya had to say about Okami and Viewtiful Joe? Let me know. Do you guys want to see these franchises come back? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out more of my Nintendo Switch and RPG content right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.